Hi. Today I'm going to talk about AMP, that is Accelerated Mobile Page. So, what is an AMP? AMP is an optimized web page for mobile browsing, which is intended to help web pages to load faster. We know that more and more people are using smartphones for browsing, for collecting data, and even for shopping. So, when building a website, we must give prime concern for the smartphone. Um On this basis, AMP was introduced, which could give a better user experience by enhancing online visibility. So AMP is an open source framework which was launched in 2015 by Google and other publishing companies. AMP is used to make a website to load almost instantly. AMP is considered as one of the advanced SEO technique that which is used to improve the page speed. Initially, the AMP pages were shown in the top story section of the Google, and by September 26, the main AMP contents were shown in the main area of the search results. We could identify the AMP page with an icon, which was shown the previous the slide. So the diagram shows how an AMP page will be displayed. Here we can see a lightning symbol along with the URL. So what's an Google AMP? Since when a user search for a content from a PC, the Google search it's HTML and it's fetched back to the PC. But in the case of a mobile, the Google collect the web page from an AMP cached server, and so it can be instantly loaded to the mobile pages. So in order to implement an AMP page, first we can create a duplicate of our web page and it can be saved as an AMP page. Then in the HTML section, in the HTML tag, as seen, we have to add an lightning, that is an AMP symbol is added after inside the HTML tag. And coming to the head section, we have to take care of 5 points. First, we have to add a canonical tag. Then second, we have to insert a viewpoint meta tag which contain both the initial scale and the minimum scale values. Then third, we have to add asynchronous JavaScript. And then fourth point is the cascade style sheets code. It must be added as inline, but it should be less than 50 KB, else it will be considered as invalid. If it is more than 50 KB, we have to compress that code. Then fifth one, we must add boilerplates. This is a sample HTML AP HTML code. Here we can see that the HTML after HTML tag, inside HTML tag, the AMP symbol is added. Then we can see the canonical tag. Here link ref equal to canonical is given and the URL of the original file name is given. The next line we have the viewpoint with both minimum scale and the initial scale. Then we can see the boilerplate is added. Then in next line, asynchronous JavaScript also is added. After finishing that section, we come to the body section. There we have to make two modifications. One is for the image. Unlike the other HTML web pages, in AMP web pages, we must give the image tag as shown here. We must add AMP-img score, then the URL of that image, height, width, and also include the layout equal to responsive. And in closing, we have a separate closing tag for AMP image files. Then other thing we have to consider is we cannot use JavaScript in the body section. It must be removed completely. If necessary, we can use the asynchronous JavaScript. After completing these sections, we have to go to the original file, and in that we should edit its canonical tag and give as following, that is link ref equal to AMP HTML, and href is given as the URL of the AMP page. Now, what are the advantages of an AMP page? We all know that when we do AMP, we can increase the discoverability of search engines. It can be loaded easily, so uh, we could decrease the bounce rate, so more and more customers will be engaged in that particular page. Thereby we can increase the search engine ranking, we can increase the traffic. Also AMP pages show uh, more ads, so it can increase the revenue for publishers, and it conveys it give better conversions. Now, what are the disadvantage of AMP page? We know that AMP is supporting the WordPress users, but it does not allow any other analytic platforms like Adobe Analytics and etc. Uh, AMP web page can load images and other things fastly, but in the case of video, its loading speed is very much slow, and it also features limits gadgets and features adding, since we cannot use more number of CSS, and JavaScript cannot be used in AMP. That's all.